kick it.
Hello, all of you slimesters, and welcome. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to a bonus episode of A Conversation With, and we have got with us the Splat Conned documentary team. We've got Adam and Michael. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hey.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank
Welcome,
you.
welcome.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah.
So Adam and I, we actually met virtually at SplatCon, or let me rephrase, in LA. We'll go that far. We met there whenever all of us were trying to find content that we could all make together while we were there, and SplatCon went poof. But I will say, if you want to hear our experience, Splat Attack's experience of SplatCon and all that entailed, which, to be honest, was pretty flippin' awesome for us. We were very, very blessed. There's a lot that were not that fortunate. There is a Facebook Live, YouTube Live, where we talked about it there with Jasmine. But if you want to hear not just our experience, if you want to hear pretty much a whole encompassing experience of what that whole thing was like, that's what these guys did by putting together the Splat Conned documentary. And I've got a question to start with for Adam, because when you and I were talking afterwards, and we got talking about 90s Nickelodeon and nostalgia and all that stuff, because clearly Michael is a huge fan of 90s Nickelodeon. I mean, if you're just listening, we could do a collector's corner just with what Mike's got art now. The Camp Onawana shirt, Double Dare shirt from, where was it from, Michael?
The Life of Slimes of Mark Summers in New York City. Also, this hat was signed by Danny Tamborelli and Michael C. Morana. I met them at a bar in Long Island, New York. I have a lot more stuff, but unfortunately I'm packing and moving some stuff around, so I can't show you it all, but I got a lot of stuff from the Nick box. I got some McDonald's, Burger King toys, blimp stuff. I got it all.
Wow.
So
Collector's Corner is not the segment that we're doing.
Yeah, but,
we'll have to have you for Collector's Corner for sure.
But we'll do that another time. So.
Sneak preview.
Yes.
But Michael clearly knows 90s Nick. Adam, however, is less familiar with 90s Nick and is a lot less nostalgic for Nickelodeon back in our time frame. So my question, how did you get involved with SplatCon?
So for me, I got a podcast as well, as you guys can see right here, the archives with Adam. And, I first started out interviewing Brian Christopher Hearn, who was on all that, some of the later seasons. And even Gary L. Gray, Squid from Rocket Power. I mean, his background is huge, but we won't go down that road. I wanted to go and connect with them. They said, Adam, we're going to be out there. We like hanging out with you, and you should come out. So, what I do, I ended up contacting SplatCon, and I said, hey, I would love to come out, do some press and media, because I do some vlogs as well, and I love going out and just showing people the finer things in life. So that's how I got involved. I got the go ahead okay from Leon Frierson to come out and be a part of it, and the rest is history.
Now, Michael, do you like to be called Michael, or do you like to be called Mike?
Michael's fine.
So Michael, question for you. I'm assuming, just looking at your Instagram page and things like that, that you do with several cons. Is that right?
Yeah, I've been to 90s Con, Tropic Con, Comic Con. I'm from the New York area, so I'm mostly on the East Coast. So to go to one on the West Coast was, a decision I had to make, because I knew I was going to end up spending some money. But yeah, I've gone to many cons in my day.
When did you hear about SplatCon? Did you hear it from Adam? Did you hear it on social media? Where did you hear about it?
I follow a lot of the celebrities that were attending this, so I saw it from multiple celebrities. I forgot exactly who I specifically saw it from.
Sure.
But you know, one or two is not going to make or break it. But then when I started to see more and more jumping on board, I was like, yeah, I gotta join onto this. I did not actually meet Adam until after the whole situation happened, but we'll get to that story soon.
Yeah, and that was actually my next question was how did you two
How
meet
did you
up?
meet?
Yeah, well, there you go. So when this whole thing happened, one of the first things that I did was go to social media and Facebook. I was just seeing all the comments going, and Adam's comments, they definitely was like, wow, like this guy's pissed and he's passionate about what's going on. I mean, other people are pissed too.
Yes.
But
yes.
his story was just a little bit more intriguing.
Engaging.
Yeah. So while I was going through my attempts to get my refund, because I didn't get it the traditional way, but on my attempts, I was just like, all right, I need to reach out to people and see what's happening on their end. So I reached out to Adam, and he was just like, oh, let's DM each other and let's figure this out. And when we were talking, we you know, he walked me through one and helped me to get my refunds from Leon. But when he came and approached me about this documentary, at first I was just going to be interviewed by Adam, and we set up a date, and everything that you do see in the documentary that's with me was prior to me actually jumping on board and helping with editing and all that. So all that footage was actually me raw pissed and my actual feelings. Yeah, it was edited because I probably had about 45 minutes or so worth of content. But yeah, that was all raw, pissed off emotion.
Oh no, I saw, man.
Yeah. So me editing and brainstorming back and forth with Adam how we want to do this. So we went back and forth, and we'll talk about, you know, our creative ways of what, you know, me and Adam were a really good team in doing this, and it was awesome working with Adam. And you know, but I'll let him lead off with all that.
Was this like a immediate decision to do a documentary about this, like as this whole situation was happening, or did this come maybe a little bit later?
So it was a thought right then and there.
Really?
I was talking with Marilyn Harris Smith, Andre's grandma from Victoria, because I had her on my show previous. I mean, I had been pitching this, you know, this convention for a long time. I mean, if you go back and look, if you guys are still following the page, you could see all the tags, you know, where I'm tagging them talking about Splat Con, because I was
us too as a show. We did the same thing.
Yeah, so I had been doing that. I mean, you'll even see it on Leon's, because I was tagging him to show him like, look, man, I'm serious about this. Like I want to build my resume, but I want to help you guys out as well and build that working relationship. So yeah, Marilyn Harris Smith, she was like, Adam, you should probably do a documentary, because we were supposed to hang out with her too. And you know, she talks about it, that on her way there, she ended up getting a flat tire.
Oh, wow.
Or her car broke down or something like that. And so it just never worked out. But she's like, you know, I would be willing to interview with you, even if it's in your hotel room. But she's like, you should do a documentary. And you know, I sat on it a little bit, and it happened. And yeah, no, I wouldn't have had an amazing polished product if it wasn't for Mike. I mean, I had maybe 15, 20 hours worth of content, and I was going to put it out in different blocks and, you know, different like little sections. But I sat down even with Gary L. Gray. We did an interview after the fact, and he was like, Adam, you know, you should really do it this way, you know, the back and forth cutting up and switching between stories. So at my old job, I was sitting there and I was just like, I was working in the corner, you know, just kind of working on the documentary in between my work, and it just all worked out so well. And yeah, no, again, I got to give so much props to Mike for coming on and wanting to help out. And, you know, even you guys are allowing me to share your stories and trusting me with it. Because a lot of the story, you know, a lot of the feedback I was hearing was that the celebrities heard about it. You know, people were hearing about this documentary coming out, and they were questioning some people. Whether it's the truth or not, I don't know, but that's what I was told. And they were just like, "Who's this person? Do you know who this guy is?" And you know, people thought there was slander because of some of the promo that was going out there. You know, we used some Nickelodeon themed little cartoons, and yeah, I mean, the rest is truly
Yeah.
history, and it's a
And it was
fun.
a fun process too. Like I want to say I kind of fully jumped on board right around December, around Christmas time, and it took a couple months for this all to come together fully. But we were back and forth doing so many calls and screen sharing, and I wanted to make sure that it was Adam's vision, whatever I was doing, and anything that I did was okay, and then back and forth. And it was a fun process because as we were doing it, more people were jumping on board. And I think we kind of like jumped off each other and kind of instigated each other because we may not have done everything to our full capacity if we weren't like, yeah, you go get him, go get him. And we were pretty much welcoming anybody that wanted to jump on board. I don't think we put a stop on many people. There was a couple people who were like, nah, you have nothing to do with this. And we did put the stop on. But, you know, we wanted this to be for the people. And I know personally for myself, this kind of hit a little hard. I mean, although I had a great time, I loved everything that happened. It was a good outcome, but you really kind of nipped at me. Like this was my thing, and
Yeah.
I you all relate to that, of course.
Yes.
So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it was a little bit personal, and I knew what I was able to do as far as you know doing Final Cut and video editing. It's not something I normally do, but I was willing to take on that and help out. And I'm so happy that I was able to meet Adam and meet everybody that I was video editing in the process too, even though I might not have personally known everybody physically. It was great and it was fun.
The you had a lot of people who volunteered to be part of this because for those of you who don't know, Adam had posted on social media, we're wanting to give a voice. We're wanting to start this documentary. We want to hear your story. And that's how we got involved. But how many people, how many different interviews did you end up having?
I believe it was what 25 people.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
25
Yeah.
people that came forward, and again, some last minute people, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot
How
of people.
long
How
did
did
go ahead, Kat?
I was just gonna ask like how you went about like deciding which people maybe were left on the cutting room floor, how you screened people. Yeah. What was that process like?
Yeah, so I had people messaging me, people that were, you know, I seen in the comments that were going through what they had went through, and I messaged them. I said, "Hey, I'm doing this documentary. I want a different, you know, background of multiple people from talent agents, from podcasts, creatives like you guys, you know, from the celebrity talent and even fans." And you know, some people didn't make the cut. Some people had said a lot of things that just didn't fit in, and we really wanted to take the strongest message and the ones that really made sense and put that in there. Um, I mean, there's a segment in there where it was the volunteers. Like we were like, you know what? The
Mhm.
volunteers even went through their part of
Mhm.
things because
Oh
the
yeah.
emails had said, hey, you know, be here at this time, and then no one ever showed up. You know, be here prior to the event, no one showed up. You know, even breaking down things at the end of it all. There was just a lot of unanswered things there. But yeah, I mean, so many people came forward, and it was really more about where stories fit in, and that's really
Hmm.
where all storytelling came in. And a lot of people said, "Hey, this thing seems a little too long," but we wanted to make it something watch, you know, something that people could watch from beginning to end, whether you're a part of it or new to it. We want that storytelling to be there, and that's where it comes from, how it starts. Like, how did you hear about this? Why did you want to go to what would you say to the organizers? So,
Yeah, originally, we kind of there was a lot of thought that was put into this behind the scenes. Adam wrote up a whole structure of how the documentary should be and wrote it all out. And as the early interviews, they were kind of like a little bit all over the place when it came to questions. But then when we started putting together the puzzle, we started to go, okay, these are the types of questions we want. And then when we got the newer interviews, we were able to kind of piece together and put all those missing pieces to make it the story that it became. And we actually had a couple different cuts, and then we had a couple people watch it and give us feedback, and then we decided to change things around a little bit. And then right at the last second, we said, maybe we're gonna cut a couple things that we may not want to have out there, and we did some last minute cuts. But the ultimate result, I think we were at what, like an hour and 40 something minutes,
45 minutes.
Yeah. So I think originally our first showing
too
was
long.
Like,
shut up, too long.
Our first showing was 2.5 hours. And we got a little bit of feedback with some of the stuff dragging. So we wanted to cut right to the chase. And I think a lot of people loved, the party aspect and the more juicy, raunchy stuff. But we wanted to make sure that the people were introduced and
Yes.
known. And I think that was the main portion to the film is seeing the volunteers, the fans, the celebrities, all the different people together and combining the experience to one big experience. So it was nice.
And ultimately, I wanted all the voices to be heard, right? Like I wanted it to be like Splat Con said, this convention was for the fans by the fans. I don't know about you guys. I never had a part in Splat Con creating it and making my voice heard. So it really wasn't by a fan. It was probably by the fan, Leon, who was a fan of Nickelodeon and stuff like that, or Nigeria and Calvin. But I wanted to take everyone's voice and really have it be heard, and everybody trusted me with it. Some random guy just hitting them up and saying, "Hey, I'm doing this documentary." And truth be told, at one point I even told Mike, I was like, "Mike, I wanted to scrap this because I didn't really know what I was doing, right? I could do a podcast and put some random edits together, but this really pushed me to my creative experiences and makes it to where I know like in the future, anything I do, whether it's a vlog or a podcast, it's going to be top tier quality. And I learned a lot of that from Mike. So I'm glad it came out. 5 months of working on it just really, I just can't. I can't even.
This was a first for both of us, and I mean, I know Final Cut, but the most I've done is small little projects like 20-minute things you upload. But to do, I guess, a film, this was new to me. So we jumping together, and the collaboration was just amazing.
So something that all of you Slimesters probably don't fully understand or fully appreciate, I should say, is how much time goes into editing videos. As someone who does Splat Attack every single week, our 2 hour long episodes, our main timeline episodes, it will take me a week. It's a full-time job just to do our regular hours. And that is within our own wheelhouse. That's within just Splat Attack's interviews. Adam and Michael had to take 25 different people. And I'm sure they were 45 minutes, an hour long each, somewhere in that time frame.
Yeah, I would say like the range of 10 minutes to 45 minutes. I think there was one case where it was over an hour. I think you guys.
So imagine all of that and then having to look at all the footage, figure out which pieces they want, cut out just the pieces they want, and then find a way to put it all together, because that takes a long time. How much time? I'm not talking editing, but how much raw material did you have?
About 10 to 20 hours worth of raw footage.
Wow.
Yeah.
To cut down to under 2 hours.
Yeah. So
wow.
all of you that say it's too long, suck my big toe, because that is impressive.
It was a lot.
What's impressive is Mike. He's an East Coast guy, and he's driving in traffic all day, every day, to even moving right now. I mean, this guy he was staying up all hours of the night. Even me text messages like, hey man, I'm doing this, and I'm like, bro, it's like 1 o'clock your time. Why are you still up? Go to bed, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, at first, when Adam was talking to me about this, he's like, "Hey, do you know anyone that can edit?" And I didn't want to take on the job at first because I know how crazy it could be. So I actually reached out to one of my friends, and he wasn't free. And I was like, I know I could do it. I don't have the time. I work full time. I'm gonna have to do this literally at 1 in the morning on weekdays. My weekends are fully booked. So part of the delay was because of my scheduling, but I I I said I'll do it. And every day after work at night on weekdays, I was doing it for a couple hours, and the time zone difference, of course, was a little crazy as well. But and then I think one week I got sick for a whole week. I said I couldn't work on it. So and then there, of course, there was a couple people that were begging us, when is this going to be? When is this going to happen? I'm like, dude, I'm doing this, out of the goodness of my heart. It's like, hold down, it's coming. I promise you, you're not gonna get stiff like Splat Con did to you. It's coming. I promise.
Jeez.
Some of the people didn't even go to Splat Con. Like some of the people were just outside looking in, and we're just like, please just bear with us.
Yeah.
You got to understand, like, this isn't going to be your traditional documentary. We're really trying to make the voices heard, and just really something that those were affected will enjoy, because they're the ones that are going to be watching it. We all sat down and watched it that weekend, and I finally got those people to kind of understand, because I followed up with them. I said, hey, look, like, do you see why we're not posting clips out there right now? Like, we want this to be a surprise,
Yeah. And that
So
was something big, that me and Adam were discussing, is because we didn't want to post up trailers too early and show and ruin the surprise. So I was very hard on, do not show who is in this. I want this to be an element of surprise. And I really pushed hard on that. I'm very happy because it was a surprise.
Uh, you did you have a question, Manny?
I did.
Go ahead.
It's kind of a two-part question, so you could answer this later if you want. But when it was, my first question is like, for the earlier parts of the interviews and the later parts of the interviews, do you was there like a certain amount of like rhythm that you wanted to keep the story going, or was it hard to chop it up in different ways to make it run with the story and the timeline of the convention?
So yeah, that's an amazing question, and one that I was like really, really focused on was all of the content, right? So when
Yeah.
I asked questions, like, I first started with you guys. You guys were, I think, my first people to interview.
Oh
And a
wow.
lot of the questions I asked were in like an order, right? And that was a part of not knowing what I was doing. I was like, I have to do this. And then I was like, that's where I'm going to post like episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until I got it all set up the way that it is now.
You
And,
asked really good questions though,
Mhm.
so it's like
Oh,
we thought you knew what you were doing, so exactly.
and you guys got, like, I feel like, the best questions out of all of it, but everybody
Really?
else got kind of like mediocre questions, but everybody had amazing answers. And that's where, like, I even reached out to you guys. I'm like, man, Manny, I don't know how much screen time you guys are gonna get. And I even told that to Mike. I was like, Mike, dude, like, some people are not gonna get much screen time. And he was like, dude, and that's okay. But as everything started getting pieced together, we were able to go back, and Mike was able to, during his long hours up at night, he was able to go back and look at the raw footage again and say, hey, these pieces fit in with the storytelling. Let's add it in. And then that's where everything started dragging on a little bit longer. But then we were able to go through, and Mike was able to cut out the ums and ahs and all of that stuff. So that really brought down time. But yeah, all of that, just going through. I don't want to sound all big headed, but it wasn't too hard for me to go through, because I remember asking the questions. I even
Hmm.
did like a printout of all the questions, and I was able to go back through and say, hey, okay, this question was in the beginning, or this was in the middle and end. And
That's
so I was
great.
able to go back through and kind of, pinpoint, like, okay, um, for instance, did you get a refund? And so I would be able to say, hey, who all did a refund question?
Right.
Or who all had this experience with Nigeria or Calvin or Leon? And so we were able to go back through, and I was able to do it that way.
Incredible, man.
Yeah.
The next question that I had was you had a few other challenges that came over during post-production because you and I stayed in contact for most of the whole time, but there were a couple of times when you had to cover yourself essentially. What were some of those challenges that you had?
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure we were doing this legally the right way, and that's from not defaming anybody, which we went through and we watched with someone that has a legal background, and he said no, like no one's defaming anybody, but like if there was something that sounded like it, he would let us know and we would cut it out. But we wanted to do
Mm.
everything the legal way, but also even with copyrights, because we
Yeah.
used some Nickelodeon images on there. At one
Right.
point, we actually had Geo Johnson, who's a part of the interviews. He had a Disney shirt on, and I had to go through and block it out.
That's
Oh,
my
Yeah.
no,
thought.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
why a Disney shirt? It's the Nickelodeon convention.
I think
Yeah,
I noticed it too. As
and
as in, I knew it was a Disney shirt because I could just make out the because every
Yeah.
once in a while, just part of
Yeah.
it would slowly come out of
Mm.
the part that was blurred. I'm like, I know what that is. I know
yeah,
why you did that too.
that was my fault. That was me that did the blur.
Oh, that's okay. It's fine.
I didn't even know
That's
how to do
editor.
the blur.
That's
That-
editor me pointing out little things. I was like, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we had to do a lot of little last minute edits. There was a couple things that I worked hard on, and having to cut out just for a copyright thing.
Yeah.
There was one part where Nish was doing the karaoke to Britney Spears, and I had it really cut out nice. I was like, wow, this is a work of art, where it went
amazing.
right to her and it went right to the music, and I was so proud of it. I worked on it, and then I was like, no, you got to take it out. I'm like, really?
Oh,
Yeah, because
no.
the
And we
song
hated
carries the
hearing
song.
that.
gonna
Yeah.
We
go.
hated
Yeah.
hearing things that we had to cut out,
Yeah.
or because you could do that with anything normal on YouTube. You could post that clip
Oh yeah.
normally, but once you throw documentary into the mix, it's a whole different thing because it's a film. And,
Mhm.
and that's one thing we wanted to make sure is the legal stuff, because
Yep.
I'm throwing something out there that has people's images on it. We're talking the big three organizers that ran this thing into the dirt. And I wanted to make sure like Mike wouldn't get in trouble, because there's a chance that I could have gotten sued or even still can. But that's the risk I'm taking is because I want these people to be held accountable. You don't just do that,
Mm.
like people flew out, Mike, from the East Coast. You guys are from the Midwest, right?
Yep.
I'm from the
East Coast.
Cats from the East Coast
Okay,
too.
see, you guys all flew from the East Coast, Midwest, in hopes to enjoying a weekend, and we didn't get that. So, I wanted to make sure we had the best product out there and held these people accountable because they took a lot of money.
Well, I feel like you covered your bases too, because when we were doing our back and forth as well, you told us that a lawyer saw this and checked every little bit, and you pretty much got this down to a T where it's like, this is legal, it's no problem.
Yeah, I mean, from the get-go, I had the participation forms for everybody. It
Yeah.
wasn't to say, hey, like this is going to be held on you. It's to say, hey, these are your words. I didn't coach you to say anything.
Yeah.
This is your experience.
Yeah.
And even your disclaimer, it says like it's not slander. It is literally just people's experiences.
Mhm.
So I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
Well, of course you don't. You're not the one who's being slandered.
That's in part 2.
Oh, you mean the real Splat Conned documentary?
Director's cut.
Yeah, little slam there, but yeah.
So we've gone over some of the challenges. What was the reception like whenever you got to actually premiere it? Because I unfortunately got to miss when you had the audience participation and had them join for the live, and I wish I could have been part of that. But what was that whole experience like?
I gotta say it was amazing. You know, I was sitting there, and my girlfriend was house sitting, and I went to go hang out with her that weekend. And I'm like, I'm getting so stoked. I'm like, okay, premiere's happening, and it just was a surreal moment. It's like, man,
Right?
got something with my name on it, you know, and
Mhm.
I'm sure Mike, you know, Mike feels the same. I'll let him explain his feelings about it, but you know, just sitting there, just everybody in the chat chatting with us and just talking about it all. They're like, "Wow, this happened! Like, did this really happen? What's up with the refunds?" Like, people are asking, "Did refunds happen?" And we're like, "Just stay tuned. You know, there's
Yeah.
so much more to come."
I answer that question. Hold on.
And no, man, we wish you were a part of it too, you know, but we understand you had things. I truly wanted, and I know Mike did too. We wanted everybody that was a part of it to take place, you know, watching it with us. The unfortunate part is a lot of people weren't able to do it, right? Some people still haven't even watched it yet that were a
Oh,
part of it.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ray watched it like 3 times.
I mean, we watched maybe 10 or so, but that's it's all good. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
no, just to
it was great just seeing who the people that did come, their live reaction. I thought that was cool. I never watched something where there was a live chat going on like a movie, and to know that that was, you know, part of my work and being
Yeah.
shared was pretty cool. And showing that to my family, showing it to my friends, it was cool. I really liked it. It was an
How
experience.
do you how do you feel about it though? Because you said like you worked like all hours of the night on this. And then finally when you get to sit back and actually watch it, you're like, wow,
Yeah,
that looks great.
it does. And you know, at first I was very much just looking at every part and messaging Adam. I don't like this little part. I got to do this. And we were going back and forth, little changing the smallest little thing like
Hmm.
20 times.
Right?
But at the end of the day, I actually can watch that now, and I've watched it a million times already. And I watch it and I know what I was going through and with the editing. So it's, I mean, there's obviously when you're watching it for like the 20th time, it's like, oh my God, but it's great. It's a different type of joy, and I'm sure y'all can relate with your edits.
That's
you know,
awesome,
Yeah.
dude.
Those moments when you think you're done and then you go back and watch it and you notice something else and like, God, you got to do it again and
Alex,
fix
what are
this
you
whole thing.
talking about?
That freaking Space Ghost episode, I had to re-render that 3 freaking times because I kept noticing little things. I'm like,
The
"Oh."
rendering, the rendering.
Yeah.
and the
Did you?
crazy part is, I want to add just real quick is that that day we did the premiere, you know, my phone was blowing up. People were saying congrats. And this is like, this really answers your question is that, you know, people were blowing me up, you know, just saying congrats or like, man, dude, that was amazing. People were commenting on everything. I mean, all of my social medias were going off, and I'm like, this is overwhelming. My girlfriend's like, you're a celebrity now. I'm like, no, I can't say that, right? But like, this is what it is, you know. And I was telling Mike the day that that happened, I had a convention. They're like, how would you feel about coming out to Florida this summer and premiering it there publicly to people, signing pictures and even copies of it? I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like that's crazy, right? But it seems like so much fun. I was like, I
Yeah.
just don't know if I could do it without Mike being there. I would want Mike to be there, you know.
You want your team to be there with you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, at the end of the day, it was overwhelming, but it was exciting.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
definitely. One of the things that I took joy in was because I really wasn't communicating with anybody. Adam did all the communication. I kind of just was doing what I was doing in my corner. Because I know that networking, talking to people, oh, that's because I've done that back in the day. It's time exhausting. And one of my things that I took joy in was asking Adam, hey, how did this person like this? How did this person like that? So I was literally looking forward to all the feedback from all the participants through Adam, and it went through to me, and I was like, yeah, all right, cool, that person likes it. You know, so that's a joy to me.
Uh, Question as far as this isn't the editor in me asking this. The render. Did you render it all at once or did you render it in parts and then put it together?
So initially Adam he put in like the initial block of everything in parts, and then he uploaded and sent to me. Then I pieced everything together and then pushed it all in, and then I did all the rendering at the end. So my part I did it all at the end, but he was doing the blocks and then so forth.
I bet that render took for freaking ever.
Yeah, it took probably like a whole 24 hours. It's a 4K.
Oh gosh.
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow.
How many gigs was the project again?
Well, uncompressed, I want to say it was like
more than one, I think.
Oh no, it was definitely like somewhere like 9 or something like that. I think
Wow.
something like
That's
that.
insane.
But I was able to compress it. But yeah, it was big.
That's nuts.
So what is next? What's the next thing? Is there going to be more to the story, or is that going to be it and move on to new projects?
So Mike and I agreed if we got the organizers to come forward and speak with us, we will definitely do a part 2.
Yeah.
That would be the only way. I Mike and I, we joke on the side as well because we did something that really brings notice to some bad people. Locally, we have a guy that's scamming people at a local game store. I was just like, Mike, I might have to do another documentary. Because this guy, so Alex, just like you kind of did like a fundraiser to get out to Splat Con. I was trying to do that as well because of the fact that I was promised the podcast room just like you guys. And I didn't have the equipment. Like I still don't. I just roll off of my headphones and my computer. And I contacted some local companies around my area, said, hey, I'm kind of looking for sponsors that would, work with me, build a working relationship. And this guy just started calling me a scammer. And I'm like, dude, it's not easy to bring out a celebrity guest. Like you have to pay for stuff. And
Yeah.
long story short, the guy's just not a very good person. So I was like, I might have to start doing these things, kind of highlighting these bad people. But nah, maybe if another convention happens to fall through while I'm a part of it, knock on wood that it doesn't happen. Maybe I'll do another project. But we definitely want that part 2 if we can get the big 3 to come forward.
Have you heard or seen reactions from any of the organizers?
We haven't. Leon has me blocked on all social media. Nigeria, she has me blocked, and so does Calvin. But I get these random calls and texts from Calvin harassing me. Nigeria,
that guy.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. Nigeria, she likes to pop up here and there, watch my stories, and Leon, he's just been a little quiet. So yeah, that's
I just had to check if he blocked me. He did not. But I didn't put the thing together.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to talk to these people and let them know I'm not your enemy, because people really were saying a lot of things about them, a lot of bad things.
Oh yeah, a lot of people were.
But you guys didn't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You guys didn't. You're literally just explaining what happened.
You just gave people a platform for them to talk about their experience, which you have made very clear from the very beginning. And that maybe just because their faces on it and they felt like it was going to be slanderous. I don't know. I can't speak for them.
They've had to watch it. They've had to watch it by now. Yeah, it's crazy. But maybe by the end of this week they might get a nice little fun email saying, hey, documentary's out. I'm sure you've seen it by now, and I would love to chat with you guys. Kind of clear the air. I know people are contacting their employers, and that's not fun. We all need to have a living, but you also mess with other people's living.
Yeah.
I would love to hear an actual legit story from Calvin. I feel like if you were to reach out to him, he would talk, but is what he's saying, like, does it make sense?
Or is it the truth?
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be the truth.
Nigeria, it's ninja vanished. She was just gone.
And she's still out there. She's still representing talent at conventions.
And it's a shame Leon doesn't want to jump aboard because he did come up with a story and something, and why can't he just talk about it? It's, he personally spoke to me and said, one day I will tell my story. And where is that? When is that going to happen? So
really, he said that?
yeah.
Huh.
When I met him at the bar.
I have heard through another source, a trusted source, that he has also told this individual that he was also used in this whole experience. But again, that's what I've heard through a source that I trust. But who knows? Maybe one day he will share his story, but he can't do it when you're blocked.
Yeah. Well, I have emails and numbers. The thing is, and I told him, I said, look, man, you have your podcast episode out there that talks about your experience or what what happened, but no one's gonna see it. And like the documentary, and the documentary I think has 1,900 views on it right now. So everybody's seeing it. Everybody knows who's behind it all. So everything I've said has just been my word, and it's been the honest truth.
So for those who have not yet seen the documentary yet, where can they see it, and what is the full title?
Yeah, so it's on YouTube. You can either look up my YouTube page, Adam and Fab Media, or you can find it under Splat Con, the documentary. You'll see a cartoon picture with a couch and 3 cartoon characters that represent Leon, Calvin, and Nigeria. Leon will be the main forefront for people that know who Leon is. It's there. It's ready for your viewing, and if you enjoy it, just leave a comment. Let us know what you think.
I'm telling you, people, you do not want to miss out on this.
It is fantastic.
Yeah, if you guys have not seen the documentary, yes, our story was pretty cool, but our story is barely a drop in the ocean for everything that took place around this. It is a very well put together documentary, if I do say so myself. Not because I'm in it, but because of how well put together the whole thing is. So very impressive.
Also, stick around at the end to get a nice little surprise. Now get out of here! Thank you for that. That was so cool.
That's actually when I met you. So
yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So that was my little Easter egg.
Thank you so much. That was so sweet.
Yes.
Yes, there will be a link down below in the description to the documentary. So if you just don't want to go searching for it because typing keys is too difficult, just click the link down below.
Clickety click.
Clickety click.
I complain. It's difficult. So, hey, here's a link. There we go.
But until our next episode, thank you guys so much for being part of this.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having us. It was great to share with you guys a little bit more.
It is our absolute pleasure.
And Mike, come back for Collector's Corner sometime.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
We've still got some spots open this season.
All right, perfect. Hit me up.
All right. Until the next time, we'll splat you later, Slimesters.
Later.
Bye.
This episode was recorded at Splat Attack Studios and virtual home studios, though none in Florida.